This is Stubtown. Welcome to Alien Covenant. Yeah! What's up, I'm Ash.
I'm Katie.
Nick.
All right, let's dive into it. So, summary. I'm gonna start the summary. Feel free to jump in and help me with it.
Okay.
Okay, so we can talk about the spoilers now. So, Alien Covenant opens as a colonization ship where they're gonna terraform a planet that is in a habitable zone. So, they're gonna sort of make a new Earth in a way. Although, the first problem in the film is there's this random pulsar. Like a neutron pulse.
Some weird, yeah. Like,
And it just wrecks the ship a little bit.
yeah.
So a bunch of people have to, they're forced awake, and they lose some crew.
Because they're in these pods like for 7 years traveling to this.
Oh yeah, no
planet.
one was awake. It was just,
it
was David and
Walter.
Walter.
Walter is the one
the new name.
the
for
android that, and yeah, is on this ship, and it's Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
So it's just him, yeah, walking around making sure everything's running good, and then it's like, oh.
He gets a warning.
Yeah.
That's shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
And it does. For some reason, after that, they're pretty okay.
Yeah. Not
But-
one person. I mean, James Franco dies.
50.
In his
Oh my
pod,
gosh, that's right.
Which is funny.
Yeah. And like
'cause
50
it's like James
colonists
Franco.
die out of the 2,000.
Yeah, like there's
roughly.
a ton of people on this. Yeah, there's like 2,000 colonists
Yeah.
on there, and then they wake up the little crew of like main people. Like how many of them? Like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, James Franco dies in his little pod.
That was the weirdest moment in the whole film. I was
Yeah.
like, so he's gonna be like, we're gonna see videos of him, flashing back.
Oh
maybe?
no, it was just randomly like James Franco died.
I'm climbing and I love you, honey.
Yeah, very unusual. Yeah, and then that whole couples thing is sort of introduced, and you kind of have to figure it out
Yeah.
along the way. That they're married to, or a few of them are married or significant others. So, but yeah,
You look
traveling.
Like you got something to say there, Nick.
Well, I was just gonna say it's a pretty big trope and almost real cliche at this point, but for that to be the small group of people you wake up, they have an appalling lack of training or general any sense of preparation for anything going wrong. I mean, not one person was like, this is what we do because of this. I remember that from training or simulations.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
a
like
really
they
good
just
point.
took people and put them on a ship and said, have fun.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
Like, you're gonna go to sleep for 7 years, and you'll wake up and you can, like, colonize this new planet, but if something does go wrong, then, yeah, you wake up and, like, Danny McBride's your hero. Like, no. Like,
Oh my gosh.
please,
Oh,
no.
no.
No. And his name's Tennessee, so and he's wearing a cowboy hat. Like, that was weird, too. Like, they're
Yeah.
trying to play up funny a little bit, but it's like,
Not an aliens, guys.
what are they doing? Yeah.
Well, he said at some point there was a reference that he was like a man of God at some point, and so he's...
yeah. Well, I think,
Danny?
No,
Yeah.
that was
The
no,
captain
Billy
died,
Billy
and the
Crudup, I
second
think.
officer, or the first officer, was a religious dude.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
And that he sort of took over, or tried to, and for some reason it was weird for him
Yeah.
to be in charge, and they tried to make something interesting out
But
of
that was
that.
unusual too, yeah, because he just briefly said that, like it was almost just like.
He's such a good actor, or he's a
it.
good actor. He's not.
Yeah.
He's good, but
Backpedal.
but they didn't use him in a way that like exemplified his natural abilities as an
No.
actor. So it was like he was like a really uncomfortable religious leader who was suddenly thrust into actually leading the crew, and like
Yeah.
it just didn't play well. It didn't play very well.
I don't think
terms
the
of
acting
intrigue.
was strong, really. Even though they had, decent actors in the movie, I don't think anybody played out very well. But there wasn't really any character development at all either. You're just kind of thrown into it. And
So what they did once they got the pulsar problem was, since they stopped, they were able to receive a nearby distress signal that was Elizabeth singing Country Road for some reason. Danny McBride was singing along with it.
Elizabeth Shaw
Was that Elizabeth Shaw?
from
Yeah.
Prometheus.
The woman from Prometheus who survived sent a transmission from a habitable planet that they hadn't seen before. And so they diverted their several-year plan to go check out this nearby planet. And this was the decision of the religious dude now thrust into leadership.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it makes sense. If you got a habitable planet that's like a week away as opposed to 7 years away.
I don't know though. Like she made a good point. What's her name? What is her name on that? Oh, Daniels. She was like I felt like that was weird too. I felt like it was a very impulse decision because I feel like they didn't know much about it, and then he's all suddenly like, "Yeah, we're gonna go here," even though it's closer. It's like she was like, "We've already scoped out this planet that we're going to. We already know it's like good and like you know what I mean, like."
They were prepped and had all the data on it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're really just willing to like just hop into this planet that we
Looks
just now.
habitable.
Yeah, it looks habitable. Let's go live there.
And they know the song Country Road. Let's check it
Yeah,
out.
exactly. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was weird. But I guess nobody wanted to get back into the pods because you just saw James Franco get lit on fire
Oh my
that
gosh.
thing, and who wants to get back in that for 7 years? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, who can't trust technology when they're in a spaceship? That's one thing I didn't get. Is like suddenly, like one bad thing happens and suddenly they don't trust technology anymore.
It's like you're surrounded by it.
Yeah.
You're surviving because of it.
Yeah, the only reason you guys survived was because of it.
I had a couple other issues with it, plot-wise. I mean, David is the designer behind the Xenomorph, right?
Oh yeah.
But why is never really talked about. What his motives were, what he was trying to accomplish, what his purpose was when he undertook the designing of it, which seemed like something I'd want to know.
Yeah. Once they got to the planet, they found David, who had actually manipulated Elizabeth Shaw into being a sort of experiment with this pathogen that was designed by this alien civilization. The original pathogen thing was like this spores that would sort of get into your body and then
you'd
force
breathe it in.
and like rearrange your organs to produce this new being that would burst out of you in some way. It would sort of resemble aliens that we're familiar with, but not really.
Yeah.
And we didn't see eggs. There weren't like eggs.
No.
And so yeah, they credited David with because he's not allowed in his programming to create, but he can imagine all these things. So it's like a rebellion against his creators in some way. It's like if you're not going to let me create, I'm going to somehow find a
Do
way
it my
around
own
that.
way. Yeah.
And
And with that, when David sort of created these facehugger eggs, which could essentially create, some semblance of the original alien xenomorph, with all of that stated, the purpose or meaning or essence behind the queen alien seemed completely like it didn't fit in at all.
where'd the eggs come from?
Yeah.
Nothing laid them. That's a really good point, because I was thinking before that moment happened in the film, I was like, so is he gonna have a queen in the basement who's just pooping out all these eggs?
And it's like, no, you just go down there and he's just got them.
He hatched them himself. He's like, I don't
I don't
know.
know what's going on down here, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of blew out the already established nature of the xenomorphs. Yeah. Yeah, and I take that as a huge disrespect to something I'm already in love with. So I'm like, whoa.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more question. If David accomplished he successfully wiped out the engineers, who's flying the ship? Who was that in the?
Was he still working with
Who was that in
Elizabeth?
the engineer flight suit with the chest burster wound?
Oh, you mean way back in the original, one of the originals where they go to a planet and they find the ship crashed and there's a suit that had several bursts out of it.
Yep.
Whoa. Because he took the colonist
Whoa.
ship.
Yep.
And he went to his own planet to sort of, you know,
Yeah, do his own
make
thing.
some creepy shit.
Yeah.
Continuity issues.
Yeah.
You
that
gotta
was.
spot him when you can.
You know, I think like my brain was just like recognizing a lot of those kind of things, but I just like I didn't want to think about it enough to really figure it out. Like, there's just something wrong with this movie. Yeah.
I mean, he's got a pretty elaborate plot going here. Yeah, I mean, you're spanning it across a lot of different movies, so there's bound to be moments that are, you know.
They don't like
I mean,
playing.
as you find out more about David, because I mean, he's almost like he's pretty much a good guy in Prometheus, right? I mean,
He seems
was
to
it?
have his own agenda. Like,
Okay.
where previously in Aliens, like, the androids had programming that were designed to sort of scrap the crew and protect anything that's super valuable, potentially. It was like, there's something wrong with the android, so it draws its own conclusions.
okay. I haven't seen Prometheus in a while, but from what I remember, I feel like he was, I mean, he's an android, obviously, but I feel like he was morally a good guy, a good character. In this movie, he's totally evil.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
is
You find out
tainted.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to know his motivations.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel like you get a good. I mean, I just want to create things because my creator didn't let me create things. Like, is that the motivation we have here, or, I mean, maybe he's just crazy. It's hard to say. He's an android though, so he was programmed, you know. So, and even the way they started out the movie was interesting. That first shot of him in that room, or I don't know what it was, with his creator. I can't think of his name.
Oh, yeah, Wayland.
Was that
With
not
a young
weird?
Wayland
Yeah.
talking to an early
Very unusual.
android.
Yeah. That was weird, because then you
That was
started out
super out
with
of
that,
place.
and then you jump right into the ship, Covenant, and you're following Michael Fassbender again, but it's actually not.
He's got a weird accent.
Yeah,
and
and
he's
it's
kind of
like-
taller.
And then they're like, oh, calling him Walter, and it's like, I don't know what's going on here, you guys. Like, oh, it's another one. Yeah. He almost sounded like he was from the South or something, too. It was like,
Yeah, I couldn't place the accent. I felt
Yeah.
like he just made up a person
yeah,
from
exactly.
somewhere that's also made up. So yeah, I would you know, sort of pull from that previous review you mentioned of, again,
Walter.
Walter and David
Yeah.
were the most interesting part of that film, in that you see sort of the modern advanced version of him, and then the previous version that's got flaws, and them talking to each other, and how like cold and machine-like the newer version is, but like you trust it, you start trusting it in a way because it's so assured of its purpose to be a human, like an advanced human tool. But then the David David who's corrupted is like they did that dynamic really well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they had just focused more on that for the film, they could have pulled something really good out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to go back to my recommendation, and I don't recommend viewing it, even for those beautiful moments
Yeah.
between those two
Was
characters.
that your favorite part of the movie?
Yeah, I would say. My favorite part of the movie was like when he got stabbed, when David stabbed the other one.
Oh, yeah.
And like he like the body like reacted and then fell.
Yeah, that
like,
actually
he scrumped
was,
up and
it
fell.
was like we kill a
And I was just
spider
like,
or
"Holy
something.
shit."
Like, yeah, it was
I was like, that's a machine that's got a human body in appearance, and like that I thought that was, yeah, that's fascinating to me.
yeah, he did a good. I mean, Michael Fassbender did. There's no disputing that he did a great job in this film. Probably one of the best parts of the film.
Which makes me think, so this cast was not very star-studded.
No.
And I think Fassbender might have been able to somehow fandangle more money so that they couldn't get more stars in the film. Because other than Michael Fassbender, the only person I recognized was Danny McBride. And I didn't want to recognize him. I
James
didn't wanna
Franco
see
for
him.
2 seconds.
Oh, and James Franco for a minute,
Yeah,
for a hot
maybe
minute.
Billy Crudup, but yeah, overall it was pretty.
Billy.
Billy Crudup.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if I had to say a favorite part, I mean, I did really like the part where the spores first got into the original guy.
Like the weird little funguses.
Yeah, kind of went into that first guy, and then because he was out with that one lady, the secondary captain's wife. They were both out, and they were like getting like samples of the
yeah.
mud or something.
Yeah,
and
she
he
was
was
looking for life.
Yeah, he was the first one to like get the thing in him, at least that we saw. And then that was pretty rapid. Like he started to,
deteriorate.
Yeah,
get all
and then
gray.
they run back to the ship, and I kind of like that whole scene of him, like, them being in the medvac section, and Danny McBride's wife, that we find out later on, the girl who was the captain of the ship.
Who was she was freaking out?
Yeah, she was freaking out. I thought that whole scene was pretty good, actually. And then she locks the girl in there, and she's like, "Get me out of here!"
But then she opens it again.
She does open it again to shoot the thing
What
in the middle of her, like, being attacked by the alien. Yeah, and I was
That was weird.
I thought that scene was very, I don't know, it was very fast paced and very, like, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was exciting, but it at the same time it felt forced too. So I thought that was probably my favorite scene. But.
Yeah, that sort of early version of the alien that was
like
skin
that.
colored.
Yeah. It was
this
very
little tyrant running around.
Yeah, exactly. And like, honestly, another movie that came out earlier this year, Life, I thought that was sort of a better. Did you see that at all?
I did.
I thought that was a better alien movie than this alien movie.
Yeah, I would definitely. They're definitely relatable.
Sure. Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
That I
well,
would
similar.
say, I didn't enjoy Life either.
Oh, really? You didn't like that?
Yeah, it's sort of like this film and Life. They're going for scares more than they're going for philosophical intrigue. Sci-fi is like there's science fiction.
Yeah.
So you're taking what's known from science and adding a little bit of fiction to make it more than it is now.
Yeah.
And it's turned it into this sort of like space is terrifying and you don't know what's out there and.
Yeah, they definitely went for the scare factor more than like any sort of like, yeah.
Yeah, some mental intrigue. I did not like how they killed it in the end.
It could have been done better.
So they finally escape the planet and they get back on the ship. And they throw a giant truck at it, essentially. Yeah. Shoot it into space.
Well, they get back on the ship and they think everything's smooth sailing because they're like, oh, we're good. And then it's like the mother voice comes over and there's like, there is a, unknown life form on the ship. And they're like, oh, no. Like, yeah, they're like, wait a minute. We thought we were done with all this, And then it's like, oh, yeah. They basically have to
it's reminiscent of the original Aliens a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, where you're sort of closing compartments, entering a new one,
exactly,
clearing it, closing it again, and moving on.
Yeah.
Trying to corner it somewhere.
They get it in that big room, though, yeah, and their plan is to, like, get it trapped in a car and then just shoot the car out into space or something. Like, yeah, it wasn't great. I think there definitely was potential for something cooler, but...
Yeah, some kind of final moment.
Did you think the scene where she's on... Like, they first get picked up by Danny McBride, and he's like, that tarmac thing is with him too, and she's like, climbs on it, and I almost thought that was cooler.
She like straps in.
Yeah, and she's like doing all this.
Trying to fuck with it.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Yeah, that was good. I thought that was.
That was a little bit cooler than the
I've
car.
never seen an action sequence like that, where you got a character flipping and flying, but they're okay.
Yeah.
Mostly, they're mostly okay.
Pretty ambitious looking, but.
Yeah, I really want to know how they filmed that.
Yeah, that would be
really
interesting. Yeah.
Like a green screen that's just like, all right, now act. Oh
yeah.
I do want to say the ending had fascinating potential. Had a lot of So, you saw it a mile away. Walter failed, and David was the android that they got back. But the way it's sort of like they still treat him like Walter, so they go back into cryosleep. Not suspicious at all until it's the last person who, through the window,
she's
is
in her
like,
thing.
Like try to personally relate to Walter, but David can't relate, so he just stares at her unemotionally, and that's where she's just like, no, and then she passes out. He, pukes up a couple alien samples.
Yeah, and he's gonna corrupt this entire 2000 colony ship. Yeah, it's not looking good for that. I don't know if they're gonna make another one though. Did they ever?
I thought he said it was his last.
I really hope not.
Last Alien.
Interesting.
By Ridley Scott.
To end it on that.
I got one more thing to bring up.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
There you go.
I was hoping, because in Prometheus, the alien species that sort of created the xenomorphs was really fascinating to me. Like a super pale, like bigger and buffer and humanoid, but like they look like humans, but they're more like Greek sculptures.
Yeah, those things are very.
But then in this film, And in Prometheus they're introduced like mysteriously, and they had sort of this ritual and culture to them that you were like, why, what? But with like technology, but the technology was like organic in some ways.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. But in this film, it was more like, now cut to a crowd of them freaking out about being bombed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, suddenly I can see all these people, and I'm wow, beautiful, but at the same time I'm like, this is like as a painter can use a color, they were just like slapping blues and reds all over the place. As I just...
That was an interesting scene, yeah, because it's David watching over all of them getting, just...
With blonde hair.
Yeah.
That threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
He's just watching them all, die, essentially, which was, I don't know, interesting.
It was a cool way to, kill a whole civilization.
I guess, yeah.
But then they were infected by the pathogen, and then weird metallic versions of themselves crawled out of their bodies and then solidified. And
yeah,
that was
they turned to stone or something. It was,
yeah, that was not what happened at all in Prometheus when they opened the thing.
Yeah. So it's like, what's going on
a lot
here?
of times in this movie I was like, what's happening now? What's going on? And who am I caring about? Yeah, I would not recommend. I'm just going to say it one more time.
For good measure.
So that's it for Stubtown this week. Thanks for joining us. So we'll be closed down for the summer until fall term, but when fall term happens, you can be a part of it by reaching out to contact@psu.tv for more information.
Have a good summer, everybody! Okay, that was way too loud. Okay, have a good summer!
This is Stubtown. Welcome to Alien Covenant. Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't want to do it again.
Just like that.
That felt super grungy.